What's shaking, everybody? Welcome back to a special edition of the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. I'm Geoff Ketchum. That's Cole Patterson. We are talking about the news that broke Sunday night that Ohio State quarterback transfer Quinn Ewers has decided to pick Texas. He's announced the news. Yahoo Sports' Pete Thamel, the first to break. Cole, well, before we do any of that, if you're excited about the Quinn Ewers video, or announcement like this video, subscribe to the channel, do all those things that we always ask you to do. Let's see some predictions for Ewers in year one in the comments section. Cole, I'll go to you first. Your initial reaction to the news, the idea, the whole thing of Quinn Ewers coming to Texas pretty fast.
Yeah, it all happened pretty quickly. He entered the portal. I guess it was like last week. It happened pretty quickly. Once that news broke, I think everybody pointed to him going to Texas. Obviously, the route it took wasn't what everybody expected. The visit to Texas Tech, there's a lot of smoke there. TCU got involved, but in the end, the Longhorns won out. And it's kind of hard to put into words how important it is for Texas. I was reading your instant analysis of how big this is for Texas, and it's huge. I believe Vince Young is the only other quarterback to be as highly regarded as Quinn Ewers was out of high school. And we all know what the offensive line, the quarterback problems that Texas has had, and they've done a great job of solving both of those, at least going on a big way and solving both of those problems this weekend with Kelvin Banks committing earlier this weekend. Cameron Williams too, but Quinn Ewers himself, he's a great quarterback out of South Lake Carroll. Highly regarded, was a one-time Texas commit. Getting him back in the boat's huge. I think for Steve Sarkisian, both for team purposes, but also the, PR and media as well. It kind of gives him, a statement, kind of commitment, a big pickup to, rally the fan base and get people believing in what he's trying to accomplish after, the season didn't go as well. But you get that franchise quarterback in the boat, a lot can turn around pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think you really touched on it. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this announcement, and we'll get to them throughout the video, right? I mean, there is, just from a 5-star quarterback commitment, those things don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
The last 5-star quarterback commitment that the Longhorns signed was in 2009 when Garrett Gilbert signed with the Longhorns. Not quite number one overall prospect in the country kind of good, but a 5-star quarterback nonetheless, which is ironic because the last time Texas signed a 5-star offensive line prospect, same recruiting class in 2009. Yeah. So on the same weekend, the Longhorns end a 13-year streak of not being able to land 5 stars at those pretty critical positions, just quarterback and offensive line. In the history of the Texas program, you're talking about Garrett Gilbert, Vince Young, Chris Sims was a 5-star quarterback for Rivals.com. And I think the very first year of Rivals' creation before kind of the new 2002 relaunch of the network. So the Longhorns have legitimately probably had 3 guys that you would count as 5-star quarterback prospects in the last, 25 years or so. Yeah. And so this doesn't happen all the time. So just from a talent standpoint, it's a big thing for the program. I mean, it's a big thing for any program. But I think the thing that you touched on that is probably most critical is that for a coach in Steve Sarkisian that just finished a 5-7 year, and you kind of wondered, what's the foundation of this thing? Where's it headed? Yeah. And the arrival of Ewers makes him a huge piece of the foundation. And it's real easy now to kind of get a vision of what the Texas football program is going to look like in the next couple of years. It'll be a big disappointment if Quinn Ewers doesn't rise to the challenge and perform like a future NFL quarterback for the next few seasons.
Yeah, and all the pressure is on Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian now. I think Quinn Ewers is talking to people around him who have followed him, who following his recruitment, know him personally, all those kind of things. It seems like he's the kind of guy that, wants the pressure, wants to be in that big moment, which is something we haven't really seen from this Texas program, during this stretch. They need a guy that's going to put the team on his back and wants to be the face of, the University of Texas. And, he's got the swagger. I think he's got the charisma. He's got the, respect of other recruits, players. All you had to do is get on Twitter and see how much excitement there was from current commits, former players, players on the team. It kind of speaks volumes about who Quinn Ewers is. And yeah, they're definitely under a lot of pressure. He has to deliver. But for right now, I think Texas fans could be pretty excited to, like you said, a 5-star quarterback doesn't grow on trees, especially a guy that is highly regarded as Quinn Ewers. He was number 1 overall player in the 2022 class, and then he reclassified a year early, and he was the number 1 overall player in the 2021 class, which kind of speaks to how special of a prospect he is. Obviously, this is my first season on the with Orange Bloods, but I was working in the Mississippi State recruiting department. He was the guy that was on our radars, way before he kind of blew up to what he is now. And I think everybody from the moment they first saw him throwing football knew he was going to be big time. And Steve Sarkisian getting him in the boat has a chance to pay off dividends for the Longhorns. I think Texas fans have to be excited about the possibility, or I guess not even a possibility. It looks like they're going to have Quinn Ewers at quarterback, Bijan Robinson at running back, and Xavier Worthy at wide receiver. You'd be pretty hard pressed to find a better trio of those positions on paper than what Texas is going to have.
Yeah, I think now, the thing that Ewers will be a midterm guy. So on paper, he and Malik Murphy are both supposed to be on campus in January. It'll be fascinating to see how that battle shapes up, because typically speaking, 2 quarterback classes at the collegiate level don't last very long. The last time the Longhorns signed 2 quarterbacks in a recruiting class was back in 2018 when they signed Casey Thompson and Cameron Rising. And both of those dudes tried to leave after 5 months. They were like, I'm out of here. Yeah. And the only reason why Casey Thompson hung around after putting his name in the portal was that Cameron Rising left. And Casey Thompson was like, well, if you're not gonna hang around, I guess I'll stay. And here we are now, 3 years later, and Casey Thompson's still in the program, and now there will be conversations about, will any Texas quarterbacks transfer? Is this it for Hudson Card? Will Casey Thompson stick around? I think it's so strange, Cole, because I think Quinn Ewers is a guy that views himself as the one thing that he accomplished by going to Ohio State was he started his eligibility clock in college.
Yeah.
So he arrives in what really should be his true freshman season, only needing to play 2 years before, in theory, he can go off to the NFL. That, I think, is the goal for a kid. That's what I've heard behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. He's already making millions and NIL deals. I mean, this is a guy that views himself differently than most guys that enter the Texas program, or any program for that matter. Yeah. One of the things that was said about him at Ohio State was that he struggled a little bit to adapt to what Ohio State's offense was doing in comparison to what he was doing at Southlake. And he struggled. I mean, look, he was a high school senior pretending in a lot of ways to be ready for college life, I guess at 17, 18 years old. But those that followed him and covered him at Ohio State said he struggled a little bit in adapting right away. As a matter of fact, I'm literally getting messages in a scouting report from an Ohio State reporter right now, letting me know like all of the stuff that kind of went on behind the scenes this year. As he gets to Texas, to me, there are a couple of things he has to do, because he's going to probably be competing with Casey Thompson for the starting job. Number one, he's got to acclimate himself to this new offense, which would be his 3rd offense in the last year. He's got to swallow that thing whole. He's got to learn it frontwards and backwards, because it is the one advantage that Casey Thompson will absolutely have on him going into the spring. Experience in Sark's system. And then the other thing is, I think that Quinn's got to fit in and feel a little more comfortable and at ease and natural in the Texas program, which is something that the people at Ohio State said he had a hard time with in his one semester. But I don't think that should shock anybody, because this is a kid that should have been playing his high. He should be getting ready for a state championship game right now. And that he's getting ready for his second college kind of speaks to the uniqueness of his situation. But learning the offense and just fitting in, for me, are the things over the course of the next 6 months or so that should be his absolute priorities.
Yeah, and like you said, I think the Ohio State situation is so rare because, he was supposed to be, preparing for his senior year at Southlake. I guess that news broke late July, early August, and he quickly went into Ohio State. Going up to Ohio after growing up in the Metroplex, that could be quite an adjustment, from the weather to the atmosphere to now Ohio State is a big time program, and Southlake Carroll is a big time program in high school, but Ohio State's kind of a different animal. When you don't have
the Ohio State University.
Exactly, yeah, and they got they had multiple 5-star quarterbacks on their roster already. Different kind of environment. He really didn't have any time to acclimate himself to Columbus, to that program. So that's one different situation he'll have at Texas. He'll be able to, like you said, enroll in January, kind of adjust himself. He's going to have 6 months before that next season to really prepare. Obviously, you want him ready in the spring, but if he doesn't have the full playbook down, he still has until August, until September to get that all situated. Whereas Columbus, it kind of all was, I have to rush to do all this just to get on the depth chart, So I think that's a huge difference here. But it's that Ohio State experience has a chance to pay off too. He kind of already knows a little bit of what it takes to succeed in that college atmosphere. He knows what Ohio State level coaches and athletes expect of you, and I think that can pay off down in Austin with Steve Sarkisian.
When I say Quinn Ewers' talent, for you, the thing that jumps off the page right away about him is what?
It's that arm talent. I think he can make just about any throw on the football field. Beautiful release, beautiful throwing motion. He makes spectacular throws. He can make the easy throws. He's a guy that, there's a reason why he was the number 1 overall player in that 2021 class, despite, like you said, supposed to be playing his last year of high school this year. He's just a rare athlete. I think some people kind of mislabel him as, more of a Matthew Stafford kind of player, but I think he has a little bit more athleticism than Stafford. He can beat you on with his feet if he needs to. He's not, a Kyler Murray by any means, but he's a pretty good athlete. He's can make every throw. I'm just watching his film. There's not many things you can really nitpick about him. I think it's about as perfect as a situation as you can get if you're Steve Sarkisian.
I am one of the guys in this industry that has a nitpick of Quinn Ewers. And it's a funny thing because I think Quinn Ewers is a 5-star player. I was never convinced completely that he was one of these mythical 6-star unicorn type guys that come with a number 1 overall player right. If you're the best player in the country, unless it's one of these years where there are no unicorns, the idea is that you are the unicorn. You're the guy that absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, that screams you should be a 1st-round pick. And weirdly, this time last year, I found myself thinking that Cade Klubnik was a better quarterback prospect by really slim margins, right? Like we're debating who should be Miss America, Miss Texas or Miss Florida, right? Like on some level,
he's a
tens or tens.
Class, So I mean, they're both elite of the elite, like you said.
Yeah. And as it turns out, Klubnik is rated as the number 1 quarterback in the country in this class. I don't think he would have been if Ewers was still in the 2022 class, but it speaks to how close this conversation would have been. And I think Klubnik's like number 6 in the country or something like that. I forget exactly what his final ranking is in the Rivals rankings. The thing about Ewers that I love, I don't know when it comes to short and the intermediate passing lanes that I've ever seen a more accurate guy.
Yeah.
He is almost like a simulation of sorts. His mechanics are so consistent. He's always so at ease. The ball is always exactly where it needs to be. He is, from an arm talent standpoint, I don't know that his arm is better than Malik Murphy's in terms of like just flat out raw arm talent.
Yeah.
But what he's able to do with his arm talent isn't a theory like it is with Malik Murphy, right? Where we're like 2 or 3 years down the road, watch out if it all comes together. I think we're talking about a much more advanced player in Ewers at the same stage in high school. My question about him is, it didn't happen very often in high school, but when he gets pressure in his face, when the pocket isn't clean, when he's not able to just muscle memory mechanics the ball out into a perfect spot, how does he react? And if you think back to the Austin Westlake game a year ago in the state championship, it was his worst performance of the season. He threw a couple of interceptions. His mechanics got a little bad. He threw the ball off his back foot. He threw the ball up for grabs a couple of times. I don't think it's a major issue. But I think about Hudson Card, though, this year, who's another guy who has, I think, a sick arm talent. Yeah. And what we know about Hudson Card is the arm talent doesn't matter if the speed of the game overwhelms you. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we'll just have to learn about Quinn Ewers as he gets started as a college player is he ready to be under duress and still be a great player? Mm-hmm. The ranking suggests if it's not going to be him, it wouldn't be anybody, because there are very few guys that could ever show up with a better profile than him. I would just say Texas fans I would be careful if I'm a Texas fan in expecting all Big 12 next year out of Ewers. Maybe. He could absolutely do that. But if he comes in and struggles a little bit in his first season, it's a reminder that this is hard and that young players struggle and that Hudson Card struggled and that Vince Young struggled and Chris Sims struggled. Like all these guys that were just like him in terms of big time rankings. It's really hard to just show up, sprinkle a little water, and then you have instant bona fide quarterback success. But the pressure will be there. Like that's the one thing we know. Texas fans will have no time for anything other than this dude better be ready to perform. Yeah.
Like you said, it's, kind of your situation, your surrounding cast plays a huge role in your success and all of that. We saw, recently, Kyler Murray didn't have the greatest success at Texas A&M. He transfers, and a couple years later, he wins the Heisman #1 overall pick.
Justin Fields is literally tearing it up on Sunday Night Football right now.
Yeah, so but Sarkisian, he definitely has that reputation of putting his quarterback in those situations to succeed. You have a freshman All-American wide receiver. You have one of the best, if not the best, running backs in college football, and Bijan Robinson. So he's got some talent to work with. But yeah, Texas fans aren't going to have much patience if he goes, that Alabama game, that UTSA game even, and throws a couple picks, puts Texas in position to lose. And it's going to be interesting, like you said, to see how he responds. If he's, put in off-script situations where he's not able to be in a rhythm, or, he's not able to get the ball where he wants it to go every single time. But yeah, he's, I think, what you mentioned, the transferring and all of that, Malik Murphy, that competition. I think you just have to take that risk if you're Steve Sarkisian. As good as Malik Murphy can be, as good as Casey Thompson performed before that thumb injury, maybe all the potential you like in Hudson Card. I think Quinn Ewers is the kind of talent that you have to take a chance on. He's a guy that has the potential to help turn around this program, help the program take that next step. And I'm sure we'll get into it this week with signing day. He's a guy that can allure and attract some big time recruits in the 2022, 2023 class, maybe even the transfer portal. I think it's an exciting day if you're a Texas Longhorn fan.
Great players want to play with other great players. And sometimes getting that first great player is the hardest thing to do. And then great player 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and on tend to follow. The Longhorns have a monster weekend in picking up both Kelvin Banks and Quinn Ewers. They may not be done on the 5-star front. I think you and I both expect Devin Campbell to pledge to the Longhorns at some point, whether it's my guess is with Campbell is I think he's going to sign on Wednesday or on signing day. And then I think he won't announce it until the bowl game. And he plays in that Under Armour All-America game. That's when he's scheduled to announce. I bet wherever he signs, I think he signs on the 15th. I think they keep it hush-hush. Mm-hmm. And then I think when he makes the announcement, the school that he signs with will put out a press release and say, this guy is added to our signing class, and they'll go from there. Evan Stewart could potentially be in play. We've been talking about it on our Slack channel. He's been liking a lot of Texas stuff on social media over the weekend. And technically, he's an A&M commitment. So something to keep an eye on. I think Evan Stewart would have been at Texas the whole time had Quinn Ewers played his senior year and just been a University of Texas commitment for the last 18 months. I think Evan Stewart would have already committed to Texas. A lot of stuff to get into over the course of the week. Like you said, we will have videos left and right. You'll have one with Sukumel later in the week leading up to signing day. I'll let you have the final word. Any final thought?
Yeah, like I said, I think this is an exciting day if you're a Texas Longhorn fan. Texas fans have been waiting for that quarterback to, bring hope and bring excitement to the university, to the football program. I think Quinn Ewers is everything you could want for to get excitement about the Steve Sarkisian era. I think Steve Sarkisian made a huge statement tonight.
How excited are you? Let us know in the comments section. Like this video, it helps. I don't understand the YouTube algorithms, but they like the likes, and so we asked for the likes. Oh, by the way, nearly 1,000 of you have signed up for the channel over the course of the last few days. Keep subscribing. We're going to have a live 3-hour signing day show coming up this week. We'll have Texas commitments. Cole will probably jump on, Sukumel, Onwar, myself. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll be breaking the news, announcing the signings as they come in. It should be one hell of a good time. Subscribe to the channel. Do that thing. Tomorrow we'll have the Monday Overreaction show. So the videos just keep coming. Until then, it's late on Sunday night. I'm going to go watch Succession, see what happens. You guys take care of each other. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Later.